What happens when a boy who thinks of himself as a psycho falls in love with the most popular girl in school? Kyotaro Ikikawa is a lonely boy who always lives in his own world, and his life completely changes when he finds out that the girl he loves him back. But will an awkward boy, lost in his dark thoughts, be able to complete his love story with the queen of the school? At the beginning of the story, we are shown Ikikawa sitting in his classroom saying to himself, "My mind is a little messed up and these junior high kids are really annoying." Suddenly, the boy talking behind him bumps into him. This enjures Ikikawa, who pulls a blade from his pocket and cuts the boy into pieces. But this is all just his imagination. He then looks at a girl and says, "This girl is very popular in school and is also a magazine model. Her name is Ana Yamada and I want to murder her." Just then, Yamada glances his way, making Ikikawa quickly avert his eyes. He then imagines that even if he killed Yamada, she would still look beautiful. A while later, it is lunchtime, so Ikikawa gets up to go to his favorite spot. But when he arrives, he sees that Yamada is already sitting there eating her lunch. Seeing this frustrates him and he thinks, "What is she doing here?" He tries to ignore her and walks past. Yamada says something to him, but he doesn't quite understand, so he just says yes and walks away, hiding behind a bookshelf to observe her. When Yamada finishes her lunch, she pulls a massive packet of chips from her bag and starts eating. Ikikawa is astonished, wondering how anyone can eat that much. He feels this might be a good chance to kill her, but when he looks again, Yamada is trying to make something. She makes a mistake and tries to cover it up with a newspaper. Since she doesn't have a paper cutter, she starts tearing it with her hands. Seeing this, Ikikawa hands her his own paper cutter. Yamada takes it, jokes around a bit, and then says, "Thank you." Ikikawa blushes, retreats behind the bookshelf, and wonders, why wasn't she scared when I handed her a cutter? Usually, people don't walk around carrying cutters. When recess ends, Yamada puts the cutter in her pouch and starts to leave. Ikikawa tries to tell her that it's his, but she walks ahead to where her friend is scolding her for sneaking snacks again. Yamada says, "No, I wasn't eating," and walks over to Ikikawa, handing him the packet of chips. But then she notices there are still some chips left, so she eats them and hands the packet back to him again. Ikikawa realizes she's just giving him the packet so he can throw it away for her. However, even after she leaves, Ikikawa doesn't throw it away. He hugs the empty packet and says, "Oh man, I was just about to murder her." The next day, Ikikawa is still stressing over his cutter, but when he enters the classroom and walks to his desk, he sees his cutter placed right there. As he picks it up, he realizes Yamada must have been holding it. Ikikawa is shocked, wondering how Yamada knew where he sat. Later, their teacher comes in and says, "Alright, come up here and present the projects I gave you." Yamada asks her friend, "Where did the poster I made go?" Her friend replies, "The one you made was really bad, so I just made another one." Hearing this, Ikikawa gets angry and thinks, she put so much effort into making that, and that girl just threw Yamada's hard work away. Yamada's team goes up to present, and Ikikawa notices that Yamada looks very sad. After their presentation, it is Ikikawa's team's turn, but as Ikikawa stands in front of the blackboard, he notices Yamada is crying. He assumes she felt so bad about the poster that she started crying. Suddenly, someone points out, "Look, there's a helicopter up there," and everyone turns toward Yamada's side of the room to look out the window. Panicking that someone might see Yamada crying, Ikikawa pulls out his cutter and slashes his own team's poster right down the middle. His teammate yells, "What is your problem?" Ikikawa replies, "I did that because our presentation is over, right?" When he looks at Yamada again, she is happily looking at the helicopter like everyone else. Ikikawa is left completely confused about what just happened. Later, Yamada is acting a bit lovey-dovey with her friend. Seeing this, the boys sitting behind Ikikawa start talking, saying that girls who cling to each other like to smash. One of the boys says, "Just imagine Kobayashi as Yamada's boyfriend for a second." Their conversation severely irritates Ikikawa. The boy behind him then says, "I wish I could smash with Yamada," but his friend replies, "I don't really like girls who are that pretty." Hearing this, his friends start making fun of him. The boy defends himself, saying, "I like chubby girls like Hara." His friends immediately start calling him a creep. During recess, Ikikawa goes to the library and spots Yamada again, but he doesn't say anything and hides behind a bookshelf. Soon after, Hara walks in and sits down to talk with Yamada. Yamada asks, "Would you like some snacks?" But Hara replies, "No, I'm on a diet right now. Actually, whatever I feel like eating, I usually just eat it easily." Hara continues, "I used to be just like you, but because of that, I gained a lot of weight." Just then, Kanzaki, the same boy who was talking about Hara earlier, arrives. He sits with them and starts talking, openly stating his preferences in girls. He mentions that he likes really chubby and squishy girls. Ikikawa thinks to himself, these girls are going to think you're a creep, and why isn't Yamada getting up and leaving? But then Yamada realizes what he implies and looks a bit shocked. Suddenly, Ikikawa accidentally drops a book from the shelf, making the group think someone is there. But Yamada covers for him, saying it might be a cat, and signals Ikikawa to make a cat sound. He meows, but it sounds more like two cats fighting. Yamada goes over and starts making cat noises too, joining Ikikawa. Meanwhile, Kanzaki and Hara look very happy talking to each other. After they leave, Yamada says, "Alright, see you later," and leaves as well. Once she is gone, Ikikawa gets embarrassed and asks himself, why was I even helping her? On his way home, Ikikawa spots a bookstore. He goes home, changes out of his school uniform, returns, and starts looking for Yamada's magazine. Just as he finds it, Yamada herself shows up in a disguise, which makes him hide quickly. Two schoolgirls walk in and pick up the exact same magazine to look at. Seeing this, Yamada starts packing back and forth around them to get their attention, but her weird behavior creeps them out and they walk away. Ikikawa thinks to himself, that was bound to happen, they didn't even know you. But Yamada doesn't doesn't give up. She takes her magazine and places it on top of other magazines so more people can see it. She then pulls out a pen and stands right there, ready to give an autograph to anyone who asks. However, the store clerk walks over and puts the magazine right back in its original place. Yamada looks dejected and leaves. After she is gone, Ikikawa comes out of hiding and says, "Well, nobody bought anything here, so I might as well buy something." He buys the magazine, takes it home, and looks for Yamada's pictures. When he finds her, he says, she looks completely different. But a little while later, he throws the magazine into the dustbin, lies carelessly on his bed, and says, "Who cares? Yamada and I have always been on completely different paths." He recalls a brief flashback, then adds, "Besides, if I don't look at it, my money will be wasted." The next day, Ikikawa is riding his bicycle to school when he sees Yamada on the way, talking to some guy. Ikikawa initially assumes it's her boyfriend, but as he gets closer, he realizes the guy is trying to flirt with her and is aggressively asking for her line ID. Yamada clearly doesn't want to give it to him, but due to his persistence, she finally gives in and starts sharing it. Seeing this makes Ikikawa furious, though he doesn't understand why he cares so much. Just then, Kobayashi arrives and is about to call out to Yamada, but she sees Ikikawa grab his bicycle and hurl it violently in their direction. The bicycle flies right past Yamada and crashes into the nearby river. Kobayashi rushes over to Yamada and everyone looks towards the river to see what happened. Kobayashi tells Yamada that Ikikawa threw his bicycle over there. Yamada asks Ikikawa about it, to which he simply replies, "I just forgot to hit the brakes." At school, the scene shifts to the library where Ikikawa is watching Yamada. She has brought another snack, but to make it, she needs water. She brings water inside the plastic packaging of the snack but accidentally spills it. She leaves to get more. Ikikawa is annoyed by the spill, so he starts cleaning the water with a cloth, cursing her in his mind. Yamada returns with more water but spills it yet again. She tells Ikikawa, "I'll clean this up later," and runs off to get water once more as recess is almost over. Ikikawa thinks, why doesn't she just use a glass or a cup? He then remembers that the room with the cups is very far away, and with only 3 minutes left of recess, Yamada won't make it in time. For some unknown reason, Ikikawa sprints all the way there, grabs a glass, and runs back. He is shocked to find that Yamada simply brought the snack to the water source, made it, and ate it there. When Yamada looks at him, Ikikawa awkwardly steps forward, fills the glass with water, and drinks it himself. Yamada then hands him her trash as she leaves, saying, "You can keep this." Ikikawa replies, "No, I don't want it." But after she leaves, he says, "Yeah, I want it." Later, while sitting in the classroom, Ikikawa says in frustration, "She wasted my time again. The moment I get a chance, I am going to kill her." Elsewhere, Yamada is miserable from the heat and is trying to fan herself with a piece of paper, but she keeps accidentally hitting herself. Kobayashi snatches the paper away and says, "You're going to hurt yourself." Yamada says, "Fine, then you fan me." Kobayashi refuses. Another friend steps in, "Here, I'll do it." Yamada replies, "Thank you, Moko." They get an idea and start fanning each other. However, Yamada keeps poking Kobayashi with the paper, causing Kobayashi to snap it. Watching all this, Ikikawa thinks, this feels like a cute moment straight out of an anime. But what I don't get is, with so many friends, why does Yamada eat her snacks alone? Could it be that she knows I want to murder her? Is she purposely coming to the library to take me out first? Yamada complains. "Man, it's so hot I'm starting to sweat." Hearing this, Ikikawa starts to think, but a boy behind him suddenly blurts out, if her body gets drenched in sweat, we'll be able to see her oranges, and starts acting inappropriately with his friend. The boy then says, "I'm gonna go take a closer look." This infuriates Ikikawa. He drops his cutter on the floor. The boy picks it up and hands it back to him. Ikikawa says, "Wait," and with a creepy smile extends the blade of the cutter and says, "Now it's fine." The boy gets terrified. Meanwhile, Yamada walks away with her friends, ruining the creep's mood. Seeing this relieves Ikikawa. He steps outside and sees Kobayashi carrying Yamada on her back. Kobayashi complains, "You are way too heavy." Yamada replies, "But you're the one who lost at rock, paper, scissors." Ikikawa thinks, Kobayashi is acting just like Yamada's boyfriend. Back in the library, Ikikawa ponders, maybe Yamada is always just lonely, or maybe she really did find out about my plan. He is holding a Japanese folding fan which Yamada notices. She asks to borrow it. He hands it over, and as she fans herself, she says, "This smells really nice, come over here and smell it." Ikikawa hesitates but walks over and sniffs the scent from the fan. However, his eyes fall on her sweat-drenched body, and he notices she is wearing a swimsuit underneath her clothes. He deduces she wore it to hide her bra. Suddenly, Yamada receives a call, says, "Are you serious?" and quickly dives under the table. She begs Ikikawa, "Please, can you sit right here?" He sits down next to her. Just then, Kobayashi walks in and asks, "Is Yamada not here?" Ikikawa notices she looks angry. With Yamada hiding between his legs under the table, Ikikawa starts feeling the heat, causing his banana to stand up. Yamada's shifting makes a noise, tipping Kobayashi off that she is hiding underneath. Kobayashi sits down right in front of Ikikawa. He asks her, "Would you like some snacks?" Kobayashi replies, "No, I'm allergic to snacks." Ikikawa finally understands that this is the reason Yamada never eats snacks in front of her friend. Kobayashi then starts praising Yamada, causing Yamada to grab onto Ikikawa's thigh to stand up, which makes him blush heavily. Kobayashi says, "See, she came out." After that, Yamada gets on Kobayashi's back and they leave. Once they are gone, Ikikawa rushes to the bathroom to calm himself down. The scene shifts to the culture festival where everyone is working together to decorate the school. Ikikawa's class is building a haunted house. Ikikawa isn't very interested in all this, so he just stands on the sidelines watching. Yamada walks up to him and asks, "Can you help us make the poster?" Ikikawa says, "Alright." He starts helping out, but his eyes accidentally lock onto Hara's oranges, and he stares a bit too intensely. Suddenly, Yamada jumps out wearing a ghost costume, which scares Ikikawa. Kobayashi walks over and says, "Those clothes aren't scary at all." Yamada argues, but Ikikawa got scared. Kobayashi replies, "Stop talking nonsense and come with me." Ikikawa then resumes helping Hara finish the poster. Once Hara finishes the poster, she leaves. Yamada walks over and notices her own name written on the grave covers drawn on the poster. Suddenly, a boy grabs Ikikawa and demands, "Who did this?" Ikikawa thinks to himself, "Hara wrote that." But to protect her, he lies and says, "I wrote it." Everyone is shocked. Hara walks in and asks Kanzaki, "What is going on here?" Kanzaki explains, "Ikikawa wrote Yamada's name on the cover of the graves on the poster." Hara immediately says, "No, I wrote that." She apologizes to everyone, explaining, "I was just writing names that I recognized." The others then notice that their names are written there too. Ikikawa says, "Let's just erase the names." Yamada approaches Ikikawa, says, "I'm sorry," and walks away. Ikikawa then erases everyone's names from the graves and replaces them with Ikikawa family. Hara looks a bit shocked by this, but notices Ikikawa has already left. Ikikawa is then shown wondering why Yamada apologized to him. Yamada reappears, still in her ghost costume. She says, "Maybe if I put some red paint on my face, I'll look more dangerous." Ikikawa suggests, "No, you should use a darker color," and gets the paint ready for her. Yamada leans her face forward so he can apply it. He dabs a little on her face and says, "That should be enough." Hearing this, Yamada just stands there frozen. The culture festival officially begins, and everyone is enjoying themselves, but Ikikawa has zero interest and just watches from the side. He notices the guy who asked for Yamada's line ID earlier is back and walking away with Yamada and her friend. Confused as to why they are talking to him, Ikikawa decides to follow them. He realizes that Yamada's friend is actively trying to keep the guy away from Yamada. Trying to take a shortcut while tailing them, Ikikawa accidentally ends up right in front of them. Yamada asks, "What are you doing here?" Ikikawa makes an excuse, "I just came here to look at the projects." Yamada says, "Let's go, I want to see them too," and drags him inside a room displaying a giant map of their city. She points and says, "My house is right here, where is yours?" Ikikawa points to his house on the map. They realize they don't live very far from each other. Ikikawa says, "Let's take a photo," intending to take a picture of the map, but Yamada grabs his phone and takes a selfie of the two of them instead. He is incredibly shocked, screaming internally, "I just meant a photo of the map." Yamada's friends catch up to them and start chatting, while Ikikawa just keeps staring at the selfie of him and Yamada. The next day, Ikikawa is drawing a manga he wrote featuring characters he created, one of which looks suspiciously like Yamada. He denies it to himself, saying, "This isn't any familiar character, I made her up entirely." Later, Ikikawa goes to the nurse's office because of a headache. He spots a pair of shoes with the name Yamada written on them but brushes it off, thinking it might be a different Yamada. As the nurse leaves the room, she accidentally pulls back the curtain of the bed opposite him. Ikikawa sees that it is indeed Yamada. He stares at her until she opens her eyes. He quickly looks away, but Yamada pulls the curtain fully back and says, "I thought someone else was staring at me, I'm glad it's you." Ikikawa explains, "I had a headache, that's why I came here." "What happened to you?" Yamada replies, "My stomach hurts." Ikikawa thinks to himself, "That's what happens when you eat so many snacks." Yamada then pulls out a huge stash of candy, takes out a medicinal tablet from among them and hands it to him, saying, "This will help with your headache." Ikikawa takes the tablet and goes to get water but notices the cup is already wet. He realizes Yamada must have just drank from it. He says aloud, "There are no other cups here, so I guess I'll have to use this one," actively thinking about the indirect kiss as he drinks. Yamada then gets up and leaves. When Ikikawa goes back to his bed, he notices Yamada left her gym shirt behind. Temptation takes over and he reaches out to grab the shirt, but the nurse walks in, prompting him to pretend he is asleep. The nurse notices the shirt and says, "Oh man, she forgot her shirt." She tosses it onto Ikikawa and says, "You're in the same class as her, right? Take this with you." This gives Ikikawa the perfect excuse to smell it. As he does, he notes, "It smells like sweat, but I'm still enjoying it." Later, Ikikawa takes the shirt back to the classroom, where Yamada meets him outside. She casually says, "Oh, I left all my candies in the nurse's office," completely ignoring the shirt and walks away. Back in the classroom, the boys behind Ikikawa are having another inappropriate conversation. They are debating whether Yamada and the other girls engage in fingering, concluding that they need to look at the girls' hands to find out. One of the boys walks over to the girls, but when they all look at him, he loses his nerve. He pivots and says, "I can look at your hands and tell you how much of a genius you are." The girls show him their hands. He says, "Alright, I understand," and walks back to his friends whispering, "They don't have long nails, which means they do it." This frustrates Ikikawa. Then another boy approaches Ikikawa, hands him a letter and says, "Take this and give it to Yamada." Ikikawa hesitates, but eventually walks over, hands her the paper and quickly runs away. Yamada opens it and is incredibly surprised to find a sketch of herself inside. Ikikawa, who had read the note outside, knows it actually said, "I am Adachi, can you give me your line ID?" Ikikawa returns to his seat and tries to work, but the boys start talking about which smash positions the girls might prefer. Adachi walks over to the girls and says, "Let's play a game." This infuriates Ikikawa. Adachi explains, "You just have to touch my hand with your hand." Behind Ikikawa, Kanzaki and his friends start discussing how they will use this to figure out their preferred positions. If a girl touches his hand from below, it means she likes it from behind. If from the front, she likes face-to-face. If from above, she likes being on top. And some might have even weirder fantasies. Hearing this makes Ikikawa seethe with anger. Among the girls, Moko catches on and says, "I get it, you just want to touch us." Adachi denies it. "No, that's not what I mean, let me prove it, and calls his two friends over to help. Adachi says, alright, any of you touch my hand. Unexpectedly, Kanzaki reaches out and touches Adachi's hand from below. Ikikawa thinks, so Kanzaki likes it from behind. Adachi resets, let's start. One of Yamada's friends touches his hand with her foot. Adachi asks, do you even know what a foot is? His friends whisper, oh. So she likes to play with feet. Another girl touches his hand with a ruler. The boys whisper, ah, so they like toys. Moko grabs Kobayashi's hand and forces her to touch Adachi. The boys conclude, oh, so they like threesomes. When it is finally Yamada's turn, she completely ignores them. Later in the library, Ikikawa is sitting with his fist clenched, still obsessing over what the boys were talking about. Yamada walks in looking at her bag of chips and says, huh, this feels a bit light. She walks over to Ikikawa, pries his clenched fist open to look inside but finds nothing. Because of the game's logic, Ikikawa immediately thinks, Yamada likes to be on top. Yamada then realizes the missing chips were in her own pocket all along. During the sports period, the class is practicing basketball. Ikikawa is standing in one spot, lost in thought about Yamada, when a basketball smacks him hard in the back. Furious, he picks up the ball to throw it back aggressively but sees Yamada standing there. He immediately calms down and gently hands the ball back. Later, while sitting down, Ikikawa notices Yamada is staring right at him. Suddenly, a basketball flies in and hits Yamada squarely in the face, giving her a severe nosebleed. The teacher rushes her to the nurse's office. Yamada's friends start yelling at the girl who threw the ball, especially since the girl is laughing about it. Seeing this makes Ikikawa highly distressed and he secretly follows them to the nurse's office. He hides inside and notices that she is bleeding heavily. Yamada has a photo shoot scheduled for the next day and she can't go looking like this. The teacher hands her a phone with her mother on the line. Yamada starts talking to her mom, breaking down in tears and apologizing profusely. Hearing her cry makes Ikikawa start crying as well, though he doesn't understand why. Yamada reaches for some tissue paper to wipe her tears, and as she does, the sketch Ikikawa drew of her falls out of her pocket. Seeing it triggers a flood of memories for Ikikawa, all the moments he has spent with Yamada. In that instant, he finally realizes that he has fallen in love with. Back in the classroom, there is absolute silence. Someone brings in the blood-soaked cotton used to clean Yamada's nose. Seeing it makes Ikikawa angry and he stands up to say something, but he notices he also has some of her blood on his own clothes, so he silently sits back down. The next day, Yamada comes to school with a bandage on her nose. People keep asking her what happened. Annoyed, Yamada's friend writes, I got hit by a ball directly on her bandage. Her friends ask, is your nose okay? Is it broken? Yamada replies, yes, my nose is fine, but I was so scared that if it broke, my career would be ruined, and she starts crying again. She clings tightly to Kobayashi, sobbing, my mom and my manager said it wasn't my fault and that injuries happen, but I know they are going to be so mad at me. Hearing this, Adachi makes a creepy comment, hey look, she's sitting in a smash position. Ikikawa glares and thinks, keep your mouth shut. When school ends, Ikikawa is heading home when he sees Yamada standing by the stairs crying. She has run out of tissue paper. Ikikawa knows that before Yamada goes home, she always stops by the library to eat snacks. He sneaks into the library and leaves a box of tissues for her. Worried she might get the wrong idea, he places tissues everywhere and leaves a note saying, you can use as much of this as you want. Later, Yamada is sitting there eating chips and she happily uses the tissue paper to wipe the grease off her hands. Watching her, Ikikawa says, that's not what I left those for, but as he watches her, he smiles. The next day, Ikikawa was thinking to himself, what is love? Because even though he had fallen in love with her, he didn't want to go on a date with Yamada. He told himself, this love and attachment ruins everyone's life, so I am not going to get involved in this. During lunchtime, while everyone was eating, he noticed that the same girl who had hit Yamada on the nose with the basketball was staring at her. Then looking at Yamada, he saw her hiding the milk she received with her lunch. At first, Ikikawa thought she was saving it for a stray animal, but when he went to the library, he realized Yamada had brought a snack meant to be eaten with milk. She was trying to mix and prepare it right inside the milk pack. He quickly walked over to her and said, you should make that in a bowl. She replied, I don't have one. Ikikawa told her, there should be one in the home economics room. She said, yes, you're right, can you go get it for me? Ikikawa immediately started walking away to fetch a bowl for her, but Yamada followed him from behind and said, I was just kidding, let's go together. On the way, Ikikawa asked, why do you do all this? Yamada happily replied, because I like cooking. Ikikawa thought to himself, this counts as cooking to her. When they reached the home economics room, they found it locked, so Ikikawa took her to the science room instead. He carefully measured the milk in a beaker and prepared the snack for her. It turned out a bit thick. Yamada scooped some onto Ikikawa's finger and offered it to him, asking, tell me, how is it? Ikikawa tasted it and said, yes, it is tasty. Yamada then started eating it. Suddenly, a teacher walked in and asked, what are you doing in here? Ikikawa tried to cover it up. We just forgot something here. But the teacher noticed that something had spilled on Yamada. Ikikawa quickly said, it is not what you think, it is just a snack. They ended up getting a severe scolding and had to help clean the school along with the rest of the class. Later, the girl who had hit Yamada's nose with the ball approached her. She tried to say something, but her sudden appearance startled Yamada, causing her to drop her cleaning cloth. As Yamada reached down to pick it up, Yamada's friend confronted the girl, asking, did you apologize to her? The girl defended herself, I just hit her by mistake. I didn't do it on purpose. Yamada's friend insisted, but you should still apologize to her. Hearing this, the girl got angry, argued with her, and stormed off. Back in the library, Yamada was happily eating her snacks. Ikikawa watched her and thought, thought, Yamada doesn't care about any of this drama. He then noticed the same girl standing nearby, so he started to leave to avoid the awkwardness. But Yamada stopped him and showed him a photo on her phone where she had face swapped with a poster. She asked, "It looks good, right?" and proceeded to show him more photos. Ikikawa felt anxious because he felt he was getting in the middle of her and that girl. Yamada asked him, "Would you like to take a selfie with me?" He quickly replied, "I don't like all this," and ran away. But as soon as he stepped out of the gate, he bumped into Yamada's friend, realizing she had been secretly watching them too. Yamada finally noticed the girl and said, "Kanyaya." Kanyaya replied, "Oh, when did you come here?" and walked over to her. Yamada started showing her the face swap app, saying, "Let's take a photo together." Kanyaya agreed, but when she saw the photo, Kanyaya got a little annoyed because Yamada had made a weird face while taking it. Yamada laughed and said, "If my nose was fine, I could have done it better." Hearing this, Kanyaya sincerely apologized. "This is all because of me." Yamada smiled and said, "No problem. In fact, I should apologize to you. I haven't even asked you to eat a snack yet." But as Yamada pulled candy from her pocket, a bunch of wrappers fell out onto the floor. Just then Yamada's friend walked over and started picking them up, snapping, "Are you guys just going to keep looking at me? Help me pick these up." Yamada and Kanyaya helped her and then Yamada left. Yamada's friend then said to Kanyaya, "Forgive me too. I shouted at you for no reason." Kanyaya teased her a bit. Yamada's friend then thanked Ikikawa for his help earlier. While walking home, Ikikawa thought about how everyone was so worried about Yamada's nose because she is a model, but Yamada herself didn't care about it at all. Suddenly, Yamada walked out of a convenience store right in front of him and said, "Wow, you have a really nice bicycle. Can you give me a ride?" Ikikawa was completely surprised. He asked, "Tell me, where do you want to go?" Yamada sat on the back of his bicycle and said, "Drop me off at the snack shop." She then pulled out a Papico ice cream from her pocket and offered it to him. Ikikawa thought, "I didn't think she would share her snacks with me." But when he looked closer, he realized she was only offering him the tiny broken-off top piece. He sighed internally, "I should have known she would never actually share her snacks." Still, he took it and said, "Thank you." As they rode, Yamada asked, "By the way, you are in the data processing club, right?" Ikikawa replied, "Yes, but why did you ask so suddenly?" Yamada explained, "Because I am leaving the basketball club, so I have to join some other club. I thought I should join the data processing club too." They hit a red light, so Ikikawa stopped. He noticed a police station nearby and started overthinking. He worried that if the police saw them riding together, they would call his family and Yamada's reputation would be ruined. Yamada interrupted his thoughts, asking, "By the way, do you like the coffee-flavored Papico or the white sour one?" Ikikawa answered, "I like the coffee flavor." Yamada smiled, "You should try the other one too." The light turned green and Ikikawa rode on. After dropping her off at her destination, Yamada surprisingly handed him the rest of her Papico. Ikikawa was shocked. She asked, "Why are you so surprised?" Ikikawa quickly said, "No, nothing." He took the Papico, broke off the tiny top piece just like she had done earlier and handed the rest back to her. Yamada took it and chuckled, "Oh, you." She waved goodbye and started walking away. Ikikawa nervously raised his hand to wave back, but he raised it so high that a taxi actually stopped for him. The next day, a teacher came into their classroom and announced, "I found snack wrappers in the library's dustbin. Can you tell me, Yamada, if you are involved in this?" Yamada honestly replied, "I don't know, but it wasn't me." The teacher said, "Okay, come to the teacher's office after class." Yamada didn't understand why the teacher singled her out, but because the teacher was busy, Yamada wasn't called in for a whole week. Meanwhile, Ikikawa was at a family restaurant with his older sister Kana. He was thinking, Yamada won't bring snacks now, which means she won't come to the library anymore. Kana sat down and groaned, "I will have to take care of you for 5 more days. Ikikawa retorted, "You are the one who brought me here." He then worried, if a classmate sees me with her, they will completely misunderstand. Right then, Yamada walked in with her friends and spotted Ikikawa. He tried to eavesdrop on their conversation, but because Yamada was being so loud, he couldn't understand what they were saying. Kana put some fries on Ikikawa's plate and said, "You are growing up, so you need to eat." But Ikikawa stood up and said, "Wait, I'll go buy something," and walked away. While he was away, Yamada came over a moment later. She approached Ikikawa and said, "Your sister really takes good care of you. She is cute." Ikikawa sighed, "She is always doing something or the other for me. She is really a headache." Yamada looked downcast and said, "I wish you were my friend. I'm jealous of you because I don't have any brothers or sisters." Ikikawa thought, "Yes, I figured." Yamada then asked, "What did you come here for?" He replied, "Fried chicken." Yamada teased, "Are you copying me?" Ikikawa thought, "How would I know what she came to get?" He looked at her mature outfit and thought, "She looks like a grown woman in those clothes." Yamada added, "I came here to buy ice cream, but I think I forgot my wallet upstairs." Ikikawa flatly said, "I don't think you came here to buy anything." Changing the subject, Yamada said, "I was just looking for the bathroom." Ikikawa pointed, "It's upstairs." Yamada quickly said, "Oh, I forgot," and hurried away. After she left, Ikikawa realized she had just come to talk to him. He tried to convince himself that wasn't possible, but he still bought an ice cream for her. On his way back, he bumped into Yamada again, who teased, "Are you copying me again?" She then walked away while Ikikawa stood watching her from behind. Back at school, Ikikawa was standing outside the teacher's office. Yamada came up behind him and asked, "What are you doing here?" Ikikawa awkwardly replied, "I was just passing by." Yamada grabbed his arm and pleaded, "Please come inside with me." So Ikikawa was dragged in. The teacher asked him, "What are you doing here?" Ikikawa replied, "I was just taking a walk." The teacher then started scolding Yamada. "You know that bringing snacks to school is not allowed, right?" Yamada defended herself, "But I didn't bring any." The teacher said, "I know what happened in the science lab." Ikikawa interjected to defend her. Miss Yamada didn't even mention the snacks. In the classroom you only said you found a snack wrapper. You asked Yamada because you assumed she would know about it, but Yamada denied it, which is completely normal. The teacher argued, but if the person themselves says that they didn't do it, then it clearly looks like they did it. Using clever logic, Ikikawa completely confused the teacher and successfully saved Yamada from punishment. The teacher actually praised him. You usually don't talk much, but it felt good hearing so much from you just now. As they were walking away together, Yamada said, I didn't like your logic very much, but thank you. Ikikawa replied, it was just a play on words. Yamada happily handed him a candy and asked, why don't we talk to each other like friends from now on? Ikikawa was thrilled to hear this and agreed, I don't have any problem with this. The next day, Ikikawa's class was preparing for their workplace visits. Ikikawa wasn't interested in any of this because he only wanted to solve crime scenes and drug investigation cases. The teacher announced, divide into groups of 6 with people who share the same interests. Ikikawa noticed there were only 4 people in Yamada's group and considered joining, but Adachi approached him and said, come join our group. Adachi's actual plan was for the two of them to forcefully insert themselves into Yamada's group. After a long conversation, Adachi and Ikikawa managed to join Yamada's group. To justify joining them, Ikikawa lied, claiming he got very low marks in science. However, once he joined, Yamada leaned in and whispered, you were lying, weren't you? Ikikawa blushed heavily, wondering, how did she find out? In reality, he had scored a 92 in science. Later in the library, Ikikawa questioned himself, has Yamada realized that I want to be in her group? He immediately denied it, no, I was just helping Kanzaki so he could join Hara's group. Yamada walked into the library, spotted Hara, and called her over to share some snacks. Hara walked over but declined, I'm on a diet right now so I can't eat. Yamada pointed out, but Kanzaki said he likes chubby girls. Hara firmly replied, I can't fall for that. That only applies to girls who are naturally chubby, squishy, and beautiful. That's why I have to reduce my weight again. Yamada reassured her, you still look cute. Hara disagreed, no, I don't look good. Yamada leaned closer and asked, how are things going between you two? She then suddenly gasped and whispered loudly, are you guys going out together? Hara shushed her, keep your voice down a bit, we have just gone shopping. Hara then turned the question on Yamada, don't you have a boyfriend? I want to hear your stories. Yamada replied, no, I don't have a boyfriend. Hara pressed, you must have had one before then. Yamada answered, no, I never had a boyfriend. Yamada then asked Hara, if you had a boyfriend, what would you want to do with him? Hara got a little embarrassed and asked, what are you trying to say? Yamada enthusiastically shared, if I had a boyfriend, I would share a pair of earbuds with him, and suddenly snapped a photo of Hara. Yamada then suggested, let's put our hands in our pockets together. But as soon as Yamada put her hand in her pocket, candy started falling out. She quickly reached into Hara's pocket instead. Hara pulled out a chocolate and said, I brought this for you so I could give it to you as a gift. Yamada smiled, no problem, you can eat it. Hara got incredibly happy and said, I am only eating it for today, and started eating. They then looked at the photo Yamada had just taken and noticed Ikikawa watching them from the background. Hara nervously asked, is this a ghost? Yamada said, no, I know him. When they turned around, they saw Ikikawa standing right there. Yamada casually said, if this is Ikikawa, then there is no problem. Hara asked, do you two always come here together? Ikikawa quickly denied it, no, I always come here. Then one day, Yamada suddenly started coming here too. Later, when it was time to go home, Ikikawa walked out of the school and saw that it was raining. People were sharing umbrellas with each other. Yamada walked up to him and asked, okay, so you commute by cycle, right? Ikikawa replied, yes. He thought to himself, she already knows, so why is she asking? Yamada then proposed, let me wear your raincoat, then I will go to the convenience store and get an umbrella. Ikikawa handed her his raincoat, which fit Yamada perfectly. She then ran off into the rain. Ikikawa noticed she had left her bag behind and her wallet was inside. He started getting worried, hoping she at least took her card. But when he checked and saw her card was still there, he panicked, grabbed her bag and ran after her. He managed to catch up to her on the way. Ikikawa explained, I was protecting your bag, that's why I came this way. Yamada held her hands out over him to shield him from the rain and told him which zipper her wallet was kept in. As he was taking out her wallet, he spotted a foldable umbrella inside her bag. Yamada saw him looking at it and quickly lied, it is broken, that's why I can't use it. Ikikawa took out her wallet and was about to put it in the raincoat's pocket. Yamada stopped him, no, if you keep it there it will get wet. Can you keep it in the pocket of my school uniform? Ikikawa felt very shy, but he opened the raincoat button slightly and slipped her wallet into her uniform pocket. When Ikikawa returned to the school, he opened the foldable umbrella and saw that it was completely fine. He wondered, did she not want to admit her mistake? Or did she want to share an umbrella with me? A little while later, Yamada returned carrying both snacks and a new umbrella. Ikikawa realized she had just gone to get snacks. Yamada asked him, do you like mint chocolate? Ikikawa replied, neither do I like it nor do I hate it. Yamada challenged him, then tell me, do I like it or not? Ikikawa confidently said, you like it. Yamada smiled, yes, you're right, how did you know that? Ikikawa answered, because you like snacks, and started to walk away. Yamada pulled out an ice cream and said, whatever you did, this is a prize for it. Ikikawa asked, is it just an ice cream? Yamada teased, so you wanted something else? Blushing shyly, Ikikawa took the ice cream, said thank you, and walked away. From behind him, Yamada called out, Ikikawa, I like it very much. Ikikawa felt incredibly awkward and yelled back, you are talking about the mint chocolate, right? He later narrated that this was the loudest he had ever screamed in his life. The day of the workplace visits arrived. Ikikawa went with Yamada's group to a studio where anime and manga are made. Kobayashi excitedly explained, here Attack on Titan, One Piece, Dragon Ball Z, such big anime and manga are made. The group started discussing their favorite manga. When Yamada mentioned mentioned hers, Adachi recognized it. Yamada asked, "What do you like about it?" Adachi creepily replied, "I like the G-cups." His comment annoyed everyone and they quickly moved away to look at other manga displays. Ikikawa saw the Bakihama section and thought, "I also want to see that." Yamada noticed him starring, so she grabbed him, pulled him over to the display, and told everyone else to move away. When Ikikawa saw the manga panel featuring Bakihama and Yujiro Hama fighting, he beamed with happiness. Seeing his genuine smile, Yamada couldn't help but stare at him affectionately. When it was time to leave, they took the elevator down. Another person stepped in at the last moment, making the space incredibly cramped. Because of the tight squeeze, Yamada was pushed flush against Ikikawa. He squeezed his eyes shut in panic, blushing furiously. When they stepped out of the elevator with the rest of the group, Ikikawa desperately needed to pee, so he rushed to the restroom. When he came back, everyone was gone except Yamada. He asked, "Where are the rest of the people?" They quickly ran to the train platform, only to see their train pulling away. Ikikawa reassured her, "No problem, the next train will come here soon." Inwardly, he was ecstatic because he got to spend time alone with her. However, he noticed Yamada's face scrunch up as if she was about to cry. He gently led her to a bench and made her sit, but Yamada actually started crying. This panicked Ikikawa, who worried that the others would think he made her cry. To comfort her, he got a hot milk tea from the vending machine. Yamada calmed down and took the drink from him. Ikikawa sat down next to her and apologized. "This is all my fault. If I had told everyone I was going to the bathroom, this wouldn't have happened." Yamada imagined him loudly announcing to everyone that he was going to pee, and the thought made her burst out laughing. However, she noticed Ikikawa was sitting very far away from her on the bench. The train finally arrived and they got on. On the train, Ikikawa thought, "I don't know how popular Yamada is, but her fans might spot her on the train." The train started getting crowded, so Yamada grabbed Ikikawa from behind and said, "We should stay together." Ikikawa paused, then confessed, "Honestly, I really enjoyed coming here and I am still enjoying it." Yamada smiled warmly. "You're still having fun. This feels like a date, doesn't it? Dating someone from your own class seems really fun." Ikikawa shyly agreed, "Yes." Yamada continued, "Thinking about all this reminded me of elementary couples who always held each other's hands, but I think keeping things a secret is better." "Ikikawa, what do you think?" Hearing this shocked him and he stammered, "Yes, maybe." They finally met up with Yamada's friends. Yamada was about to apologize for being late, but Kobayashi interrupted, "Forgive me. As the captain, I was focusing too much on the time." Yamada hugged her and said, "No problem." The next morning at breakfast, Ikikawa was telling his mom and his sister, Kana, everything that happened during the workplace visit. Kana teased, "You are having a lot of fun at school lately, aren't you?" Walking to school, Ikikawa pondered, "Do I really have fun? I don't even have any friends yet." Then he thought of Yamada. He remembered that during the visit, Yamada promised to lend him her favorite manga to read. However, he convinced himself she was probably just making fun of him with Kobayashi. When he reached the school gate, he saw Yamada waiting for someone. He tried to quietly slip past, but Yamada grabbed his bicycle and cheerfully said, "Good morning." Ikikawa simply replied, "Yes." After he parked his bicycle, Yamada immediately pulled out the manga from her bag and handed it to him. Yamada enthusiastically praised the book to the point where Ikikawa had to warn her, "You will spoil everything." Yamada stopped and said, "Okay, I will not spoil anything, you read it. And yes, I will go home early from school today." Ikikawa just said, "Okay." As Ikikawa walked towards his classroom, Yamada started following him. Ikikawa turned and asked, "Weren't you waiting for someone?" Flustered, Yamada quickly said, "Okay, I will go back." That evening, Ikikawa was sitting in the library. Suddenly, Yamada walked in. Ikikawa asked, "Didn't you go home?" Yamada noticed he wasn't reading the manga she gave him. She leaned in, trying to snatch the book he was holding, and demanded, "You should read that manga now." Ikikawa argued, "No, I like to read manga at home." As they struggled over the book, Yamada accidentally pressed her chest right against Ikikawa's head. Ikikawa completely froze and turned bright red. Realizing what happened, Yamada quickly apologized. Ikikawa stammered, "No, forgive me." Yamada felt incredibly awkward and said, "Okay, I'm leaving, forgive me." But as soon as she turned to leave, Ikikawa called out and stopped her. Even he didn't understand why he did it. He blurted out, "Will you come to school tomorrow?" Yamada smiled softly, "Yes, I will definitely come, and I will also come to the library." When he got home, he tried to read the manga she gave him, but he couldn't focus on it at all. The next day at school, Ikikawa was washing his hands in the restroom when Adachi walked in. Adachi bluntly asked, "Since when did you start talking to Yamada so openly?" Ikikawa defensively replied, "Because we are classmates, that's why we were talking." Adachi smirked, "But I have seen you two standing very closely." Adachi then got straight to the point, "Set me up and make me friends with her too, man." They talked for a bit before Ikikawa finished and started to leave. Adachi called out, "Whatever we talked about, don't tell anyone." Ikikawa agreed, "Okay." Ikikawa walked back to his classroom deeply contemplating, "Do I really like Yamada?" But when he reached his desk, he found Yamada casually sitting right in his seat. Seeing her there made him feel incredibly shy. After that, when he goes to the library, he sees that Yamada is already standing there, looking very annoyed at a poster. And that poster said that you cannot eat anything in the library. After that, the two of them are walking somewhere from there. Ikikawa was thinking in his mind about who could have thrown a snack wrapper in the dustbin. Yamada also says that this is very strange. "I have never thrown a wrapper in the library's dustbin. It is possible that someone else is behind all this." Ikikawa also agrees that it is possible. After that, they reach the teacher's office where Yamada says to a teacher, "I feel a little strange seeing that poster in the library." The teacher shows them a candy wrapper and says, "This is a small wrapper, but if we allow this, it will be very difficult to stop. Sometimes people eat there even after knowing that snacks are forbidden. That's why we have put a poster there." Hearing this, Yamada feels terrible horrible. After that, when they are in the library, Ikikawa thinks that Yamada will never come to the library again after this. Ikikawa was feeling bad thinking this. Then Yamada takes out a chocolate from her pocket. Seeing this, Ikikawa gets shocked. He says to Yamada that if the library teacher sees her like this, she will have a problem. And then the library teacher comes there. To save her, Ikikawa extends his hand and covers the candy in her hand. Seeing this, the teacher gets awkward and coughs. Ikikawa quickly pulls away from her. Then Ikikawa tells her, "I did this because I knew that if I didn't, the teacher would see you and you would be thrown out." Yamada sees that the chocolate in her hand is completely crushed and spread all over her palm. Ikikawa says that she should wash her hands. Yamada says, "You go away for a while." Ikikawa does so and Yamada starts licking her hand to clean it. Ikikawa says to her, "You know that you should stop eating snacks." Ikikawa thinks while leaving from there that now all this is over, she will never come to the library again. But when he comes to the library the next day, he sees that Yamada has come to the library today as well. Yamada says, "I have come here to do homework," but when he goes near her, he sees that she has brought snacks. Yamada says, "I will only eat a little so it won't be against the rules." Ikikawa says to himself that she will never change. Then he sits next to her and asks, "Who would have thrown the snack wrapper here?" Yamada suddenly remembers that after eating the chips, she gave the empty packet to Ikikawa. Ikikawa says, "I did not do this." And he says to himself, "I never even threw it away." Yamada asks him, "Did you take the snack packet to your house?" Ikikawa says, "No, it's not like that." After that, when Ikikawa gets home, he searches for Yamada's name on the internet. He finds Yamada's profile, but when he checks the search results, he also sees the name of a television show. He clicks on it and realizes that Yamada is going to appear on that TV show. He checks the day and time and finds out the show is airing today at 7 o'clock. He quickly rushes to the TV, only to see that the show has just ended. Disappointed, he walks back. The next day, the scene shifts to the sports period at school, where everyone is running on the track. As everyone starts running, Yamada comes up behind Ikikawa and grabs him. Startled, Ikikawa starts running faster. Just then, Yamada takes off her shirt and Ikikawa sees that she is wearing her t-shirt backwards. So Yamada hands her shirt to Ikikawa and turns her t-shirt around right on her body. But because of this, Ikikawa ends up seeing her body. This makes Ikikawa incredibly shy. Yamada then leans in closer to look at his face, trying to see his right eye, which is usually covered by his hair. Embarrassed, Ikikawa quickly covers his face. Because of this distraction, they end up wandering completely off the track. By the time they return to the track and finish their run, they are dead last. Exhausted, Yamada sits down on the ground and extends her hand toward Ikikawa, silently asking him to help her up. Ikikawa reaches out, takes her hand, and pulls her to her feet. Yamada then starts walking away, but Ikikawa is left standing there, blushing deeply as he stares at his own hand. Later, when Ikikawa returns to the classroom, he realizes that in the confusion, Yamada accidentally took his uniform shirt and he was left holding hers. Ikikawa gets extremely anxious, thinking that if she wears his shirt it could cause a huge problem, and sure enough, in the next period, she wears his shirt. During class, the teacher calls on Adachi to solve a question on the board. Ikikawa panics, thinking that if Adachi gets a good look at Yamada and realizes she is wearing his shirt, he will create a massive uproar in the school. To prevent this, Ikikawa quickly interrupts and tells the teacher, "I would like to solve this one." The teacher agrees. While Ikikawa is up at the board trying to solve the problem, he glances back at Yamada. She's looking right back at him. Ikikawa tries to discreetly signal to her that she is wearing the wrong shirt, but Adachi misunderstands and yells out, "You're just trying to show off that no one else can do this except you. Don't get too cocky." Right then, the teacher speaks up from behind Ikikawa. "Ikikawa, let me tell you that whatever you just solved is completely wrong." The whole class bursts into laughter. After class, it is lunchtime. Ikikawa keeps a close eye on Yamada no matter what she is doing. He notices her desperately trying to hide the name tag sewn onto the shirt. When she sits down to eat lunch, she discreetly points at Ikikawa. Following her signal, they end up at the nurse's office. Ikikawa waits outside while Yamada goes behind the curtain to change shirts. From behind the curtain she asks, "Didn't you feel cold? If you were feeling cold, you should have just worn my shirt." Ikikawa lies, "No, I didn't feel cold." In his mind, he wonders, when did she find out they were swapped? Meanwhile, Yamada starts sniffing his shirt before finally handing it back to him with a bright smile. Ikikawa then notices a grain of rice stuck to his shirt. This time, he is the one who saves Yamada from embarrassment by discreetly brushing it off. To quickly change the topic, Yamada suggests, "Let's measure our heights." She drags Ikikawa over to the stadiometer. She tries to adjust the measuring bar to Ikikawa's height, but it gets jammed. She says, "Let me just measure your height using my hands." But having her hands that close makes Ikikawa too shy, and he quickly backs away. Yamada then says, "Let's measure my height." Ikikawa brings a chair, stands on it, and reads Yamada's height. She is exactly 172 centimeters tall. Yamada says, "I didn't see your height properly earlier. I want to see it again." Ikikawa refuses, "But I don't want to show it." During their playful struggle, Yamada accidentally steps onto the weighing scale right next to the stadiometer. geometer. Her weight is clearly displayed. Yamada panics and asks, "You saw it, didn't you?" Ikikawa quickly lies, "No, I didn't see it." They start playfully arguing. The scene shifts to the next day. When Ikikawa arrives at school, he hears rumors that Yamada is going to act in a movie. Everyone in class is buzzing with excitement. However, when Ikikawa looks at Yamada, he notices she looks genuinely sad. He can't understand why she would be sad about such good news. The teacher then enters the classroom and announces, "We are going to change the seating plan now. Everyone gets their new assignments and moves to their new desks." As Ikikawa sits at his new desk, Hara sits right next to him and Yamada is seated a little further ahead. When the teacher starts writing on the board, Ikikawa struggles to see properly. Yamada notices him squinting. However, she mistakenly thinks he is staring at her, which makes her blush. Dachi, who is now sitting next to Yamada, leans over and says, "I think I forgot to bring my textbook." Yamada kindly replies, "Okay, you can read from my book." Hearing this, Ikikawa quickly interrupts, "Wait, I just saw something under your desk." He then takes out his own textbook and places it on Adachi's desk. Adachi tries to make excuses, "Oh, maybe I just forgot it there." Yamada smiles at Ikikawa, "You have a really good memory." Ikikawa goes back to trying to see the blackboard. He leans over too far and accidentally bumps into Hara. He quickly apologizes. Hara warmly says, "If you can't see the board, you can just look at my notebook." She then pushes her desk right up against Ikikawa's. She adds, "I'll tell the teacher to officially change our seats later." Ikikawa thinks to himself, Hara is actually really nice. However, Yamada watches them bonding and begins to feel intensely jealous. She glares at him and mutters under her breath, "Having fun, aren't you?" A while later, Yamada and Ikikawa are alone. Yamada slightly pouts and says, "You must be really happy sitting next to Hara, right?" Ikikawa denies it. "No, it's nothing like that." Yamada presses on. She is soft-hearted and very cute too. Wanting to clear the misunderstanding, Ikikawa blurts out, "You know, I was actually looking at you during class." He immediately realizes what he said and claps his hands over his mouth. Yamada is completely shocked. Just then, Hara walks up to them and says, "I talked to the teacher about the seats." But sensing the incredibly awkward tension between the two, she pauses. It is implied that Hara and Yamada will eventually sit together. Later in the library, Yamada brings up the seating arrangement again. "Okay, so you really couldn't see the blackboard?" Ikikawa confirms, "Yes." Yamada apologizes for misunderstanding him. Ikikawa says, "It's okay. Besides, you have a lot of other things to pay attention to right now." Yamada asks, "Like what?" Ikikawa replies, "You are going to act in a movie, right?" Hearing him bring it up, Yamada gets incredibly excited and asks, "You know about the movie?" Ikikawa says, "I heard you got a chance to act in one." Yamada nods happily. "Yes, I didn't get a major role, but I got the part of a police officer's daughter." She excitedly rambles on about her character. Ikikawa realizes that she was sad earlier because no one had actually bothered to ask her about the role itself. They just cared about the prestige of her being in a movie. Yamada then says, "I have a line of dialogue that I really want practice with you." Ikikawa agrees, "Sure, let's hear it." Yamada looks at him and says, "You're bad." Ikikawa is momentarily stunned. Yamada frowns and says, "I don't think I said it with enough feeling." She grabs Ikikawa's arm and says the dialogue again. Ikikawa stammers, "Yeah, that's a little better." Yamada keeps repeating, "You're bad, you're bad." Ikikawa notices some other girls in the library staring at them weirdly. He suggests, "We should go practice somewhere else." Yamada drags him to the school storage room. The room is incredibly cramped, forcing Ikikawa to stand very close to Yamada. Ikikawa nervously points out, "I think this room is way too small for two people." Trying to distract himself, he asks, "When is your movie coming out?" Yamada replies, "In 2 years." She looks up at him hopefully and asks, "Will you go see it?" Ikikawa replies, "If I have time, I'll go see it." This makes Yamada very happy and she says, "Okay, let's go." Ikikawa asks, "Don't you want to practice your dialogue anymore?" Yamada smiles warmly at him and says, "I don't think I can say that line anymore." That evening, Ikikawa gets home and turns on the TV to watch the show Yamada was supposed to appear on. When the show starts, Yamada is indeed on screen. However, she isn't given a single chance to speak throughout the entire broadcast. Ikikawa feels terrible for her, thinking she must be incredibly upset and disappointed. But when he gets to school the next day, he sees Yamada happily chatting with her friends about the exact same show, completely unbothered. He realizes she genuinely doesn't care about not speaking. Later, Yamada is seen giving Moko an autograph of a famous actor she met on set. However, Moko quickly realizes that Yamada just forged it herself. Yamada teases her friend and laughs. The next day, Yamada is sitting comfortably in Moko's lap, complaining, "Man, Kobayashi didn't come to school today." Her friends inform her that Kobayashi is sick. Moko takes the opportunity to start teasing Yamada, tickling her. Yamada gets annoyed and scolds her, "You shouldn't do all this, understood?" To prove a point, her friend draws a rough outline of Yamada on the blackboard and challenges her. "Okay then, tell me exactly where I can't touch you." Yamada draws X marks on the areas where she refuses to be touched, but then she deliberately draws a circle on an area where it is okay to touch her. Just then, Adachi walks over and announces, "It's my duty to clean the blackboard today," and moves to erase it. Ikikawa quickly jumps in and says, "Let me clean it for you." Adachi happily thanks him. In reality, Ikikawa only volunteered so he could secretly memorize the exact spots Yamada marked as okay to touch. A few days later, Kobayashi returns to school. She has just gotten her test results back and scored quite poorly. Yamada proudly announces, "I have started studying a lot these days. I do my homework on time and my test scores have really improved." Surprised, Kobayashi asks, "Did you start going to a cram school or something?" Later, they are hanging out in the library. library. Kobayashi connects the dots and says, "Okay, I get it now, you do your homework here during the lunch break, and Ikikawa has been teaching you." Yamada quickly gets defensive. "I never asked him to teach me, okay?" Kobayashi smirks. "I don't believe you, and you know parent-teacher meetings are coming up." Kobayashi then turns to Ikikawa and says, "You're really smart, aren't you? And you're in the data processing club." Surprised, Ikikawa asks, "How do you know all that?" Kobayashi replies, "Yamada told me she talks about you a lot lately." Yamada defensively yells, "I talk about everyone." Hearing this makes Ikikawa's heart sink. He assumes that if Yamada is talking about him to her friends, she must be making fun of him. Kobayashi then starts recounting funny things Yamada has done. "One time I was eating ice cream with Yamada and she got some cream on her cheek. Instead of wiping it off, she just tried to lick it off her own cheek." This makes Ikikawa smile genuinely. Embarrassed, Yamada grabs Kobayashi and yells, "That's enough." Kobayashi then turns back to Ikikawa and says, "By the way, Ikikawa, you smile a lot more now. You should have seen him the day we went on that workplace visit. He was so happy when he saw that manga panel." Ikikawa stammers, "I was just smiling at the manga." Yamada mutters, "I don't think so." Kobayashi then observes, "You know, Ikikawa, whenever you talk to girls, you act really shy." Yamada quickly defends him. That's just normal for him. Later, Ikikawa walks downstairs and sees Yamada and her mother sitting on a bench outside the teacher's office, waiting for their parent-teacher meeting. To his horror, his own mother is sitting right next to them. Yamada's mom tells Yamada to sit up straight and behave properly. Yamada immediately straightens her posture. But Ikikawa's mom also starts copying Yamada. Ikikawa mutters under his breath, "What is this old woman doing?" Ikikawa's mom then says aloud, "I wonder why my Kaif-chan hasn't come yet." Hearing the nickname Kaif-chan, Yamada realizes this is Ikikawa's mother and starts staring at her intently. Ikikawa's mom formally introduces herself. "I am Kyotaro, Ikikawa's mother. Please be nice to him." Ikikawa groans, "I don't know what this old woman is blabbering about." Yamada then politely says, "Kyotaro-kun and I are very good friends." Ikikawa's mom says, "Yes, he told me that he is enjoying school these days." After that, Yamada and Ikikawa's mom start talking to each other. When the parent-teacher meetings end, Ikikawa is walking home with his mom. Yamada runs up behind them to catch up. Ikikawa's mom asks, "What was that sweet girl's name? I forgot to ask her." Ikikawa casually replies, "Her name is Yamada." Hearing him refer to her by her last name, Yamada stops in her tracks, looking surprised and a bit hurt. When Ikikawa and his mom turn to look at her, Yamada quickly runs away. Ikikawa realizes she is likely upset because he didn't use her first name, Anna. The next day in the library, Yamada is telling Ikikawa about her mom, proudly stating that her mom is very cute. Ikikawa bluntly disagrees. "That's not true." Yamada asks, "What do you call your mom?" Ikikawa replies, "I just call her mom." Changing the subject, Yamada asks, "Can you help me study?" Ikikawa agrees and sits down to tutor her. Just then the library teacher walks by and notes, "Ah, you guys are doing homework." However, Ikikawa spots a piece of candy sitting wide open on Yamada's desk. Panicking that they will get kicked out, he leans in very close right next to Yamada's ear and whispers, "Listen, hide your candy." The sudden intimacy makes Yamada turn beet red and she retreats to sit in the far corner of the room. The teacher notices and asks what happened. Ikikawa quickly covers for her, "Nothing, she just saw a cockroach." Internally, he is completely confused as to why she got so flustered. Later in the classroom, Yamada redraws her outline on the blackboard. Looking directly at Ikikawa, she adds new circles to the drawing and announces, "Look, from now on, you can even touch my ears." The scene cuts to Ikikawa walking somewhere from his house when it suddenly starts pouring rain. As he passes by a convenience store, Yamada calls out to him. She asks, "Where is your umbrella?" Ikikawa admits, "I forgot it." Yamada says, "Here, I have something for you." She pulls a plastic shopping bag out of her pocket and slaps it onto his head to act as a rain hat. After a second, she admits, "I don't think this will work." She then hops onto the back of Ikikawa's bicycle, opens her umbrella over both of them, and declares, "Come on, I'll give you a ride home." Ikikawa initially refuses, but Yamada forces him and he ends up pedaling them to his house. When Yamada drops him off and leaves, Ikikawa realizes she forgot a small shopping bag in his bicycle basket. Assuming the contents are very important, he hops back on his bike and chases after her to return it. When he catches up and hands it to her, Yamada bows deeply and clarifies, entirely unprompted, "These aren't pads for my period. My mom ordered me to buy them for some work." Before Ikikawa can process this awkward admission, he sneezes violently. Worried, Yamada asks, "Are you okay?" Ikikawa just says, "Let's meet again," and rides off. That night, Ikikawa is looking at a photo of Yamada on his phone when he passes out from a high fever. He has a fever dream where a giant, Godzilla-sized Yamada is chasing him through the city trying to catch him. He wakes up terrified, heavily breathing. He mutters to himself, "Man, if I was going to have a dream about Yamada, shouldn't it have been a little sexier?" Because of his severe fever, he takes a sick day from school. He spends the day resting at home. The doorbell rings, but assuming it's a salesman, he ignores it. However, when he eventually goes to the window to look, he sees Yamada walking away from his front gate. She had come all the way to visit him. Realizing she is leaving, Ikikawa throws open the front door and yells, "Yamada, what are you doing here?" Startled, Yamada turns back and says, "Sorry, did I wake you up?" Ikikawa replies, "No, I was already awake." He is visibly dizzy and swaying. Yamada explains, "You didn't come to school today, so I brought you your share of the strawberry milk from lunch." Ikikawa says, you really didn't need to do that. You came all the way out here. You must have been worried. Yamada blushes and quickly denies it. No, I just enjoyed the walk here. Okay, see you later, and starts to walk away again. Desperate to keep her there, Ikikawa calls out, would you like to come in and have some tea? Yamada happily agrees. He brings her inside and starts boiling water for tea. However, his fever makes it hard for him to focus. He leaves the kitchen telling Yamada, I'll go change my clothes. He heads up to his room, but the fever finally overwhelms him and he collapses onto the floor, unconscious. Downstairs, Yamada notices he has been gone for a long time and goes upstairs to check on him. She finds him unconscious on the floor and panics. She quickly picks him up, carries him to his bed, and tucks him in. She tries to adjust his clothes to make him more comfortable, but in his delirious state, Ikikawa reaches out and accidentally grabs her ankle. In his mind, he is continuing his fever dream. Rather than pulling away, Yamada gently hugs him to calm him down, then carefully lays him back onto the pillows. A while later, Ikikawa slowly wakes up. He groggily assumes Yamada is still sitting beside his bed. However, his vision clears and he realizes it's just his sister, Kana. She sighs, good, you finally woke up. She then hands him a folded note. It is a letter from Yamada that reads, I'm sorry to bother you, get well soon. The next morning, Ikikawa's fever breaks and he gets ready for school. His mother casually mentions, I saw that Yamada girl here yesterday. A flashback plays. When Yamada was leaving the house, she bumped into Ikikawa's mother returning home. Yamada anxiously asked about his health. His mother reassured her, his fever has gone down a bit since yesterday. He should be able to go to school tomorrow. Relieved, Yamada exhaled, thank God. Then, realizing she sounded too eager, she quickly changed the subject, yelled, okay, I'm leaving, and blindly ran straight into a concrete pillar. Back in the present, Ikikawa says, okay, I'm heading to school. As soon as he steps outside his gate, he sees Yamada waiting for him. She cheerfully says, good morning. Hearing her voice sound a bit raspy, Ikikawa asks, did you catch a cold? Yamada denies it, no, just a little sore throat. They walk to school together. Ikikawa admits, I don't really remember much from yesterday. It all felt like I was dreaming. Yamada gets nervous and asks, what kind of dream? Just then, Kobayashi runs up to them and says good morning. Yamada greets her back, her voice still raspy. Kobayashi asks, did you catch a cold? Yamada repeats, no, just a sore throat. Kobayashi smirks and says, it feels a bit weird that you have a sore throat, especially considering you insisted on taking your share of the strawberry milk home yesterday. Ikikawa suddenly connects the dots. Yamada didn't bring him his milk, she gave him her own share. Yamada is incredibly embarrassed and yells at Kobayashi, what are you even saying? Later in the library, Yamada casually asks Ikikawa, do you use the Line app? Ikikawa replies, I use it a little bit. Yamada teases him, you talk like an old man who just had a drink. In reality, Yamada is desperately trying to find an excuse to add him online. She tries another angle, I have this really good sticker pack. Do you want me to share it with you? Ikikawa cluelessly refuses. Yamada tries again, by the way, every club in every class has its own group chat. The data processing club must have one too, right? Ikikawa says no. Well, maybe they do, but I was never invited. Yamada excitedly suggests, then we should ask them to add you. Ikikawa shuts her down, no, there's no need for that. Frustrated, Yamada asks, but why? Ikikawa shrugs, because I just don't feel like it. This completely ruins Yamada's mood and she sulks. In the classroom, one of Yamada's friends dramatically sighs, dude, I really need a boyfriend. Why don't I just add every single guy in our class online? Then whichever one proves himself worthy, I'll make him my boyfriend. Yamada seizes the opportunity and says loudly, yes, you are completely right. She marches straight over to Ikikawa, fully intending to finally get his Line ID. However, Moko intercepts her and says, listen Yamada, you should aim higher. Go ask the handsome guys for their IDs. I'll just take Ikikawa's ID. Moko promptly pulls out her phone and adds Ikikawa. Yamada glares at her, fuming with jealousy. Moko then points across the room and says, come on Yamada, go ask Ishimura for his ID. He's the ace of the track team. Wanting to make Ikikawa jealous, Yamada loudly announces, fine, I'll go get his ID right now. As she walks over to Ishimura, Ikikawa starts to panic. He remembers growing up in the same neighborhood as Ishimura and always feeling deeply jealous of his athleticism. Seeing Yamada ask for his ID is too much to bear. Suddenly, Ikikawa realizes that Yamada's clumsy attempts in the library were just her trying to ask for his ID. Unable to control himself, he lets out a loud, weird scream. Startled by the noise, Yamada stops dead in her tracks and aborts her mission to get Ishimura's ID. Ikikawa thinks to himself, if she asks me right now, I swear I will tell her I use Line. Suddenly, Adachi creeps up from behind and loudly asks, hey Ikikawa, you totally date your own sister, don't you? Ikikawa, lost in his own thoughts about Line, accidentally blurts out loudly, I do. The entire class bursts into laughter, making fun of him. Later, Ikikawa is at home reading the manga Yamada lent him. He analyzes the romance, thinking, the way the main character acts in this manga, she clearly likes boys who act like that. He catches himself overthinking and shakes his head, I shouldn't read so deeply into this. The next day at school, Ikikawa spots the upperclassman who previously aggressively asked Yamada for her Line ID Nanjo. He is cornering Yamada and Kobayashi in the hallway, trying to pressure Yamada into hanging out with him after school. Kobayashi is fiercely defending Yamada, pointing out that Nanjo already has a girlfriend. Nanjo arrogantly says, well, it seems like you guys don't want to come, so I'm leaving. Calling his bluff, Kobayashi says, oh, actually, I meant that I would like to come. Stunned, Stunned, Nanjo recovers and says, "If that's the case, you guys absolutely have to come," and walks away. Watching from a distance, Ikikawa feels deeply upset. After Nanjo leaves, Kobayashi turns to Yamada. Yamada asks, "Are you really going to go?" Kobayashi shrugs, "I don't see any reason not to, so I'll go." Yamada warns, "You won't have any fun there." Kobayashi retorts, "What are you talking about?" It is heavily implied that Kobayashi might actually have a crush on Nanjo, and the two girls share some tense banter. Later, Ikikawa walks into the library and is shocked to find Yamada sitting at a table, crying. When she notices him, she quickly wipes her tears. He softly asks what happened, but Yamada simply says, "Nothing," and changes the subject. They start casually talking about a PlayStation game to clear the air. Just then, Nanjo's girlfriend walks into the library with one of her friends. She walks up to Yamada and surprisingly apologizes. "I'm sorry, I think Nanjo went a little too far with you earlier." Yamada politely replies, "No, it's okay." The girlfriend then fishes for information, asking, "You already have a boyfriend, don't you?" Yamada firmly denies it. "No, I don't have a boyfriend." The girlfriend sneers, "Oh, you're just saying that because you're on TV now. You just want to hide it, right?" Annoyed, Yamada raises her voice, "I don't have a boyfriend." She then looks directly at Ikikawa and says, "You get it, right?" Misinterpreting her look as a signal that Ikikawa is her secret boyfriend, the girlfriend and her friend quickly back off and leave. After they are gone, Yamada moves to sit right next to Ikikawa. Suddenly, Nanjo and his girlfriend walk past the library window. To sell the illusion, Yamada leans in incredibly close to Ikikawa's face. From outside, Nanjo assumes they're making out, gets disgusted and leaves. Once the coast is clear, Yamada quickly apologizes to Ikikawa and hurries out of the library. Left alone, Ikikawa is completely bewildered, wondering why she just did that. When he returns to the classroom, he hears Moko yelling at Kobayashi. "Do you even realize that Bayashi Nanjo is only doing all this to get closer to Ana?" Kobayashi's friends try to reason with her. "You shouldn't get involved with that guy, he's clearly just using you to get to Yamada." Kobayashi sadly admits, "Yes, I know, I was just pretending that I didn't know." After school, everyone is walking home. Kobayashi tries to catch up to Yamada to talk, but Yamada actively ignores her. Frustrated, Kobayashi yells, "You're an idiot," and starts running away. Yamada chases after her and tackles her in the middle of the street. Yamada demands, "So tell me what happened." Kobayashi admits defeat. "Nothing, I'm not going to hang out with him anymore." Yamada smiles softly. "That's a good decision." The two make up and walk home together. Ikikawa watches the entire reconciliation from afar. However, he then notices Nanjo standing nearby, also watching Ikikawa. Nanjo glares at him before walking away. That night, Ikikawa pieces everything together. He concludes that Yamada purposefully used him in the library to make Nanjo think she had a boyfriend, thereby getting Nanjo to leave her and Kobayashi alone. He spirals into insecurity, thinking, maybe she has just been using me this entire time. Feeling used, Ikikawa completely stops going to the library and begins actively ignoring Yamada. A few days pass. One afternoon, as Ikikawa is walking home, he realizes Yamada is following him. Trying to avoid her, he speeds up. Yamada runs, catches up to him, and literally pins him against a brick wall. She demands, "Are you angry with me?" "But why?" Realizing how aggressively close she is, she quickly steps back and apologizes. "I'm sorry, I got a little too close." Ikikawa coldly replies, "No problem, let's just go our separate ways now," and turns to leave. But as he walks away, he glances back and sees Yamada standing there, crying silently. She quickly turns her head to hide her tears. Seeing her cry breaks Ikikawa's resolve. He realizes he completely misunderstood the situation. Yamada isn't the type of person to maliciously use someone. He walks back to her and awkwardly tries to explain, "I'm not angry with you. I was just a little busy these past few days." Yamada looks up at him with teary eyes and asks, "Are you really not angry?" Ikikawa softly says no. Overwhelmed with relief, Yamada lunges forward and hugs him tightly. Realizing what she did, she steps back blushing and says, "Forgive me, I touched you again." Ikikawa looks away and mumbles, "I never said that you couldn't touch me." They move to the covered corner of a nearby staircase. Overcome with emotion, Yamada hugs him again, properly this time. Afterward, they walk the rest of the way home together. The tension is gone and they talk endlessly, though most of their conversation revolves around different types of snacks. Eventually, Ikikawa says, "It's getting late, let's go home now." Yamada grabs his sleeve to stop him and pleads, "Just talk to me a little longer." Ikikawa happily agrees. Yamada asks, "By the way, where are you going for winter break?" Ikikawa tells her, "My family is going to my dad's hometown." They continue chatting about their upcoming breaks. Ikikawa then remembers the book in his bag and says, "Oh, I need to return that manga you lent me." They sit down on a nearby bench. Yamada excitedly asks, "What did you like the most about it?" She starts listing her favorite scenes. Ikikawa chimes in, "I actually really like this specific part." They are both thrilled to discover they like the exact same obscure detail in the manga. Yamada promises, "Okay, I will bring the next volume for you next Monday." "Okay, bye-bye." She jumps onto a bicycle and starts to pedal away. Ikikawa yells after her, "Hey, that's my cycle." The scene skips to the following Monday at school. Yamada approaches Ikikawa looking guilty and says, "Forgive me, I completely forgot to bring the next volume." Ikikawa reassures her, "No problem." Yamada promises, "I will definitely bring it tomorrow." Ikikawa points out, "But winter break starts tomorrow." Yamada realizes this and says, "That means we'll have to meet up somewhere else over the break to give it to you." Ikikawa tries to play it cool, "No problem, you don't have to worry about it." Yamada insists fiercely, "No, you have to read it right now, otherwise I'm going to spoil everything for you. Later, it's lunchtime. Yamada's friends call out to her to come eat with them, but Yamada waves them off. You guys go on ahead without me today. She then turns to Ikikawa with a sly smile and suggests, so why don't we add each other online so we can coordinate? Hearing her finally ask directly, Ikikawa blushes furiously. They happily exchange line IDs. Yamada smiles, okay, see you tomorrow. That night, when Yamada gets home, she sends her first message to Ikikawa online. They chat briefly before she texts him good night and happily goes to sleep. The scene of the next day is shown where Ikikawa arrived early due to excitement, but he was saying to himself, I came here so that I can know the place. Then he sees that Yamada has also arrived there, so he goes over and checks whether it is Yamada or someone else. Yamada is very surprised to see him there and says, how did you come so soon? Then Ikikawa says, I also wanted to ask this. Yamada says, I came here so that I can see the location where we are going to meet. Then she changes the topic and says, I want to go somewhere, will you come with me? Ikikawa says, okay, let's go. After that, they start going there together. But on the way, when Ikikawa sees his own reflection, he understands that he looks very strange, so he takes off his mask and hoodie. Then Yamada says, finally you have shown your face, and she tells him to grab a piece of her bag so that they are not separated. After that, they reach the cafe where Yamada had brought him. When they were in line, Ikikawa thinks that he should go ahead, so he starts moving ahead, and Yamada says, no problem, you can stand here. Then Ikikawa looks at her and starts blushing. Yamada asks him, what are you looking at? Ikikawa says, I was just seeing that your hairstyle is very different today. So Yamada says, my mom did this, I can't do all this by myself. She may seem very strict with me outside, but she talks to me very nicely at home and she really loves me a lot. Ikikawa says, yes, your mom is cute. Hearing this, Yamada gets a little angry and says, I have never heard you call me cute. So Ikikawa understands that he has made her angry. Then they come inside the cafe, the waitress comes there and asks them for their order. Ikikawa just orders a black coffee and Yamada orders a pancake. After that, they start talking among themselves where they were talking about clothes. Ikikawa says, I always wear black clothes. Although I don't like it that much, I don't like anything other than black. After that, Ikikawa's coffee comes, so he drinks it, but he doesn't like it because he had ordered black coffee in a hurry. Then Yamada's pancake comes, so she is very happy to see it. Then she says to Ikikawa, take a picture of me while eating. So he takes a picture of her, and Yamada says, by the way, this photo will look better in a video. So Yamada likes her own idea and Ikikawa records a video of her. Then he says to her, by the way, I don't have any problem in shooting, but should you upload it on social media? So Yamada says, I'm not going to upload it, I'm going to send it to you. And she sends it to him. So Ikikawa keeps playing that video again and again. Yamada holds his hand, raises his face, and says, you shouldn't ignore the real thing. Listening to this, Ikikawa gets very shy. Both of them get awkward for a while. After that, Yamada brings Ikikawa to a shopping place with her, and she apologizes to him, forgive me that I'm taking you everywhere with me. Ikikawa says, no problem. After that, Yamada brings two dresses and asks him, which one do you think is cuter? Ikikawa says, it depends on which one you like, but Yamada wanted Ikikawa to look at her and tell her which one is cuter, so Ikikawa suggests one to her. After that, Yamada goes inside and tries it on, but Ikikawa starts walking away from there after hearing the sound of her changing clothes. When Yamada comes out, she sees that he is walking away, so she asks Ikikawa about this. Ikikawa says, I thought it's not right for me to stay here. Yamada says, no problem, you can stay here. Now I'll try another one. Then Yamada comes out wearing the other one. But Ikikawa sees that his sister has also come here. That's why he tells Yamada not to make noise. Yamada says, okay, she's your sister, can I say hello to her? Ikikawa says, no, not now. So Yamada grabs Ikikawa and brings him inside so that Kana doesn't see them. Then Yamada loosens her dress a little, goes near Ikikawa's ear and says, so tell me, when can I say hello to your sister? Ikikawa, feeling shy, says, some other time. Yamada says, okay, this was a promise. Then she says, the one I was trying on got sweaty. Ikikawa says, aren't you going to buy it? Yamada says, no. Ikikawa says, but it looks good on you. So Yamada turns around and says, okay, I'll buy it and wear it today. But she forgot that she had loosened her zipper from behind. Because of this, Ikikawa sees her back, so he closes his eyes. Then when Kana leaves from there, they also come out. Today was Christmas Eve, so there was a lot of crowd. On the way, Ikikawa says, you don't know much about me, do you? I'm a person who says everything openly. If I don't like something, then I say that I didn't like it. But today I enjoyed hanging out with you. So Yamada says, I know. And she ties a scarf around his neck so that he doesn't feel cold. After that, they go ahead. They see a very nice decoration there, which was done with lights. Seeing this, Yamada gets very excited, but Ikikawa was looking only at Yamada and she was looking very beautiful. After that, they reach the station. The train comes there, but because of the crowd, they start to separate from each other. When they get on the train, Ikikawa sees that Yamada has held his hand, so he also holds her hand tightly. After that, they both get off the train and go home, but Ikikawa still hadn't let go of her hand. He didn't understand when to let go of her hand. Ikikawa thinks to himself, if she finds out that I like her, then what will she think about me? Then Yamada lets go of his hand and says, okay, I'll go ahead from here. Ikikawa says Happy New Year to her, but Yamada stops him and says, there are still many days left, so don't say it now. Okay, let's meet again, and she starts going from there. But when Ikikawa turns around and looks again, Yamada hadn't left from there. She says while acting like Santa, Merry Christmas, ho ho ho. Seeing this, Ikikawa feels good and says in his mind, I wish all this remained the same. After that, Ikikawa comes home and is reading the next volume of the manga. He was thinking about how he should talk to her when he meets Yamada again. Suddenly, he sees that the main character of that manga has come out. The character says, I am the imagination of your mind. Do you think you have a chance to make her yours? Ikikawa says, yes, I think so, because we held hands and did a lot of things. But we can't forget that Yamada is like this with other friends too. Maybe she is also behaving the same way with me. What do you think? The character says, I agree with you. Ikikawa says, you shouldn't have agreed with me. The character says, you should start acting like a man. That's why Ikikawa starts exercising. Then a notification comes on his phone, so he checks. Yamada sent him a photo in Santa's clothes and said good night. Ikikawa also says good night to her and goes to sleep, but the voice in his mind was not letting him sleep. After that, Nanjo is shown. He sits next to Ikikawa and says, so Moko, you and Ikikawa are in the same class, right? Moko asks Ikikawa, will you change places with me? Then Nanjo puts his hand on Ikikawa's shoulder and says, so tell me, how is Yamada? Ikikawa's broken arm is then shown, telling us, this is all from 4 days ago. A flashback is shown where Ikikawa had reached his dad's hometown with his family. After reaching there, he finds out that he will have to share a room with his sister. Then a notification comes on his phone. Yamada had sent him a photo of a dish. Then Ikikawa remembers Yamada telling him, when you go to your dad's hometown, make sure to send me a photo of the snow there. Remembering this, Ikikawa goes outside and starts taking pictures of the snow. But while taking the photo, his foot slips and he falls down. Because it's been a long time, Kana comes to see him. She sees that Ikikawa has fallen down and has a fracture in his arm. His mom takes him to the hospital and puts a plaster on his arm. After that, the whole family eats together. When Ikikawa goes to brush, he takes a picture and sends it to Yamada, telling her that he has a fracture in his arm. When he goes to sleep, Yamada makes a video call. Ikikawa picks up the video call and is surprised to see that Yamada is in a very different look. Yamada asks Ikikawa about his arm. Ikikawa says, I just fell down, it doesn't hurt. Yamada says, it felt good to hear this. But then she realizes she is wearing very few clothes, so she quickly hides her body. Ikikawa tells Yamada that he will come back tomorrow. Yamada says, it's good if you come back tomorrow. But then she sees someone peeping from Ikikawa's side. Ikikawa looks the other way and Kana is there. Ikikawa quickly turns off the screen. His sister says she is very cute. Ikikawa tells her that she is his classmate. Kana thought she was a streamer. Ikikawa says, you know, we all boys and girls are friends. Kana says, but not in mine. Ikikawa thinks that if he told her more, she would ask more questions. Kana says, okay, talk quickly and go to sleep, and she goes to sleep on her bed. Ikikawa starts talking to Yamada on chat. After a while, Yamada says, can I call you again? Reading this message, Ikikawa gets a little shy. Yamada calls him and he picks up. Yamada asks, is your sister asleep? Ikikawa says, yes, I'm in the hall right now. They have some conversations and Yamada says, if you don't mind, you can have a drink with me. Ikikawa brings a drink and he and Yamada have a drink together. Yamada says, let's watch the moon together. But Yamada couldn't see the moon on her side. Ikikawa takes a picture from his side and sends it to her. Seeing this, Yamada is happy. She asks him, are you sleepy? Ikikawa says, no, I can't sleep well lately. Yamada says, keep your right hand on your head and pat it 3 times here and there. Yamada wanted to do this, but she couldn't. She says, this will help you sleep. Then she says good night to him and cuts the call. He also sends her a good night message. The next day, they are going back. Ikikawa's family goes to a store and does some shopping where Ikikawa thinks of buying a dog keychain for Yamada. Kana says, let's buy a matching one. On their way back, Kana asks Ikikawa about Yamada. She talks a lot about her looks because she thought she was cute. Kana asks the name of that girl. Ikikawa tells her name is Yamada. Kana says, okay, she's the one who kept the letter that day, and she starts teasing him. After coming home, Ikikawa is going somewhere. His sister asks him and Ikikawa says, I'm going to return the books. As soon as he goes ahead, he finds Yamada who brought her dog for a walk. Yamada says, you were hurt, so I thought I would come here. Then she says to him, we are meeting after a long time. Ikikawa says, maybe it's only been 5 days. They go to a park where Yamada was training her dog. Ikikawa was sitting on a bench thinking whether he should give her the gift or not. Yamada brings milk tea for him, so Ikikawa takes it. Yamada asks her dog to command. Ikikawa says, sit down. The dog doesn't sit down, down but Yamada sits down. Ikikawa says turn around. Yamada turns around. Seeing this, Ikikawa feels shy. Ikikawa says shake hands, but this time Yamada puts her hand on his hand. She holds his hand and sits next to him. Ikikawa says in his mind that his hand is cold. He says to Yamada, I brought your scarf. Yamada takes it out of his bag and feeling shy says, you know, I was going to let you keep this, but it seems you don't want it. She gets a little sad saying this. Ikikawa says, if that's the case, I brought something for you too. He takes out the dog keychain from his pocket and gives it to her. Yamada is very happy with it and says thank you. Ikikawa also says thank you. After that, they both go back. Yamada says that she has named the keychain Kentaro. She asks, Ikikawa, are you going to the shrine on New Year's Day? He says, yes, I'm going with my family. Yamada says, okay, I'll message you where I'll meet you, and leaves. When he comes home, Yamada messages him that she is hanging out with her other friends. Ikikawa says, okay, let's talk tomorrow. After that, he goes to a convenience store to buy drinks. He meets Nanjo, who says, hey, you're the same boy on the cycle, aren't you? Maybe your name is Ikihara. Moko refused to meet Nanjo as soon as she saw him. The present scene is shown where Nanjo comes straight to the point and says, do you have Yamada's line ID? Ikikawa refuses, but Nanjo catches his lie because Yamada's message is received on Ikikawa's phone. The two girls leave from there. Nanjo comes in front of Ikikawa and tells him, give me Yamada's line ID. But Ikikawa clearly refuses and says he will not give it to him at all. Moko was listening to all this secretly, so she comes to Ikikawa and says, listen, will you leave me at home, Ikihara? Ikikawa agrees and they leave together. Moko tells him on the way, you don't know how to lie. Ikikawa says, I was just not ready. Moko asks, do you like Yamada? Ikikawa says, no, it's nothing like that. Moko says, okay, so you can hold my hand, right? And she holds his hand. Ikikawa moves back quickly and admits that he likes Yamada. Moko goes ahead and shouts, I know, and tells him she already knew about it. Ikikawa drops Moko to her house. Moko asks, will you go inside? Ikikawa refuses, says Happy New Year to her and leaves. He goes a little far and calls Yamada. Yamada picks up the call and says, hello Ikikawa, you've never called me before. Ikikawa says, I wanted to say Happy New Year. Yamada says, huh, so soon? I wanted to say this to you before. Then Moko comes there and Ikikawa cuts the call saying, okay, you hang out. He says to himself, one day I will tell you that I like you. The scene of the next day is shown where Ikikawa had reached the shrine with his family. On their way, his mother sees Yamada. His sister understands what the matter is. Yamada is waiting for someone and looking at herself in the mirror again and again. Kana teases her brother a little and they go ahead. Yamada comes to them and says hello to his mom and dad. She takes permission and goes to the shrine with them. She comes to Ikikawa and talks to him. Seeing this, his sister starts smiling strangely. Ikikawa's mom and dad pray with his sister and go to the other side. Yamada and Ikikawa pray together. Yamada knew that Ikikawa's arm was injured, so he was praying with one hand. Seeing this, Yamada joins her hand with his hand so that Ikikawa can pray well. They pray together, which makes Ikikawa very shy. When they were coming down again, Yamada asks, what did you ask for? Ikikawa says, nothing special, I just asked for everything to stay as it was. Yamada says, don't you want any change? Ikikawa can't say anything. Yamada says bye to them and goes to the other side. Kana says to Ikikawa, you know, she looked super mature. In front of her, I look like a kid. They go ahead and their parents say, let's go to a restaurant and eat. Ikikawa is about to say something, but Kana comes in the middle and says, sorry, but we are not coming. She pulls Ikikawa and goes to the place where Yamada had gone. When she finds Yamada, Ikikawa goes to her and Yamada turns around while eating street food. She says, I bought it for you too. But when she sees Ikikawa's sister, she comes back to her mature form. Kana says, would you like to come to our house? Yamada gets excited and says, yes, I will. Ikikawa is surprised to see this. While taking her home, Kana was wondering who Yamada was waiting for. She remembers that Yamada had just bought street food for Ikikawa, which meant she was waiting for him. While thinking, she bumps into an electric pole. When Yamada comes home, she removes her jacket so that the zipper on her back can be seen. Ikikawa says to himself, I bought this matching one with my sister so she wouldn't feel bad. When Yamada sits on the sofa, Ikikawa tries to hide the keychain. Kana misunderstands and thinks they have gone too far. She starts scolding Ikikawa, but then she sees the same dog keychain on Yamada's back and calms down. She gives Yamada homemade soup, which Yamada likes. After giving her soup, Kana puts the utensils in the sink. She asks Ikikawa what his first name is. Ikikawa blushes. Yamada says Kayotaro and both girls come closer to him. Ikikawa shouts, go back a little, and his sister teases him. Kana takes out Ikikawa's yearbook and shows it to Yamada. Yamada was very happy to see this because she likes Ikikawa's childhood photos a lot. Ikikawa says, I still look the same. Then Yamada asks, don't you have a school trip photo? Kana tells Yamada that Ikikawa never went on a school trip. Ikikawa takes the yearbook and says, that's enough. Kana says, okay, I'm going to meet my friends now. Ikikawa sees that Kana has left her keychain, so he thinks thinks she forgot it, but Kana did it on purpose so she could show she has the matching keychain with Yamada. Kana says to Yamada, I am happy that you befriended Kyotaro, and she starts leaving. Yamada stops her and asks, can I call you sister? Hearing this, Kana gets very shocked. She says, I will also call you Anna-chan. Yamada says, yes, this will be right. When Yamada comes back, she sees the same keychain in Ikikawa's hand. Yamada starts helping to wash the dishes. Ikikawa says, you don't have to do this. Yamada says, it's okay, it's very little anyway. When Ikikawa goes to his room, Yamada follows him. She says, your sister is really very cute. Ikikawa says, she keeps teasing my stuff. Yamada takes the yearbook from him and starts looking at it again. She asks, are these two boys with your friends? Ikikawa says, yes, they used to be my friends, but after elementary school they went to a private school. Yamada goes ahead and sees that Ikikawa had won many national prizes on crime investigation. Yamada shows a lot of curiosity in this. Ikikawa says, I can read the minds of those who commit crimes. Yamada lies on his bed and says, then read my mind and show me. Ikikawa says, I can't read your mind because you are not a criminal. Yamada says, I don't know, I'm living a secret life. Her hand goes to the magazine lying next to her. Before she could take it out, Ikikawa climbs over her and says, don't do that. Because of this, it becomes a very awkward position. Both Ikikawa and Yamada start feeling shy. Yamada gets up quickly and pulls Ikikawa back. While standing, she says, forgive me, I touched your stuff without asking. She takes all the childhood photos and starts leaving. Ikikawa follows her, but Yamada stops and says, next time I will show you my yearbook, and happily leaves from there. Ikikawa thinks to himself, did she just invite me to her house to see her yearbook? A flashback is shown where Ikikawa's friends were separating from him. They said they would stay in contact, but gradually they separated. Ikikawa was seeing this dream, so he gets scared and wakes up. After that, he gets ready and goes to school, where he looks at the manga character and says, I know you have a lot of pressure in your mind. Now you have time, you should show it. Ikikawa comes out and sits in the car. His mom starts driving him and his sister is also there. When he reaches school, Yamada was waiting for him. She says good morning to his sister and mom and starts going inside with Ikikawa. She asks him, where is your keychain? Look, I have put mine on my bag. Ikikawa says it is in his bag. Yamada takes it out of his bag and puts it on his collar. Ikikawa remembers all the moments spent with her and says, this is strange. Yamada asks, what is strange? Ikikawa says, I didn't want to come to school until last year and I didn't want to join any event, but I don't know, I don't hate coming to school these days, and maybe you are the reason for this, so thank you. Yamada says, you should thank yourself, because if you hadn't come to school you wouldn't have talked to me or anyone else. Then his books fall from Ikikawa's hand. Yamada picks up his books and gives them to him. Ikikawa says thank you and takes them. Then Yamada hugs him. Ikikawa also hugs her back. They hug each other tightly. Because of this, they are late for class. While running towards the class, Moko comes there and says good morning to them. Seeing her, they quickly get away from each other. Seeing them shy, Moko understands that something must have happened between them. She says to Ikikawa, you finally did it. Then Yamada gives Ikikawa candy. Ikikawa says thank you. And here season 1 of this series ends. If you want to see season 2, then press the like and hype button on this video. Thank you for watching this video.